And while we're talking Connecticut, I wanted to ask Bob Nagel if he would just speak to an issue, because he was associated, his community was a not-for-profit. Do you mind doing this, Bob? Because I'm springing this on you. But their community was a not-for-profit associated with the hospital. And then big things happened in his community, and he was a shaker and a mover. And I just thought he should share that with you.
Still shaking.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, this is extemporaneous. It's nice to follow Jordan, because part of our problem, Contra for Connecticut is really voluntarily supported. I mean, we exist on the $1,600 budget per se, but we have a good deal of voluntary support. The minutes are the means of communication. Sitting here the past day, last night, yesterday, got some ideas about that. The main concept, what am I talking? Our main concept is to be organized in case of a challenge. And the challenge came with the bed tax. And believe me, this is a Bob, excuse me, a Bob Nagel personal. What's that? The water.
I think it's untouched.
Okay, thank you. As has been somewhat, I've been connected, working with NACRA since roughly the year 2000, 2001. And we've had the same struggles, membership and so forth. What really has matured NACRA and Contra, state organization, number one at the state level was the challenge of the bed tax. And believe me, the 17, George and I disagree, I thought 17 CCRC, that molded those 17 together into a unified force. We had no problem working through the presidents at the various units. We organized write-in campaigns, press the flesh campaigns with their local legislators. We demonstrated on the steps of the state capitol. We testified at the committee hearings. It was a unifying force of Contra. And that was the challenge. All 17 rose together. And that included the support of many executive directors. They came along with us. And like somebody said here, yes, we fought for 2 sessions of the legislature to get that waiver. But that challenge brought what I think we have is a very, very strong state association now. Now, take that one step further. That was then challenged by the imputed interest that the national NACRA took over and asked for the support of the local state organizations. So the strength of NACRA, the strength of the state organizations come when you actually have a problem, a challenge. And that's what we have to do. We have to stay organized on that basis. When the challenge will come, we're creating some of them. And maybe that's the point we're at right now, that we come forth with some modifications in the laws and how these finances are handled and what impact we have legislature. but we have to stay organized, and I think we all thank each of you of giving your time and effort to be here on that basis. So that's my own feeling after about 14 years of working in this. Now, as far as, I have to say this, every one of the 2,000 CCRCs in the United States can be purchased. We're up for sale. And there are people out there that are looking at these properties. Some of them are very desirable real estate holdings. No problem to take a CCRC and turn it into a wonderful condo or co-op. Dining, recreation, social, it can be done. And this is where we have to be very careful. In Connecticut, 16 or 17 CCRC, disagree, 50%, roughly one half, are taxable. I don't use the term not-for-profit or on that basis. It's either taxable or tax exempt. And that is a problem that you have to follow. What can you do about it? Not a darn thing. Residents have zero, under the current laws, zero rights in the change of ownership. And I think that's one of the principal points that we have to see if we can change. Now let's face it, we are not owners. You could say, hey, it's our money. We made a deal. We signed a contract. We are not owners. We are customers. What's unique? As customers, the success of CCRC, an individual CCRC, is a win-win cooperation between the owner and the residents. And we might put one other thing in there. I use a triangle. You got the residents, you got the owner, and you have the manager. Very often, there are differences between manager and owner. But those three entities have to work together. And when that happens, you've got a good business model. And remember, word of mouth advertising, if you don't have a good service in your CCRC, and at the next cocktail party, the next social gathering, all you need is one or two people saying, we don't do this, we don't do that, we don't get that. That word of mouth advertising hurts. Same token, you can't go out and attack the owner or the manager if you perceive of a disagreement. You're just hurting yourself. You're hurting your own CCR's reputation. So that's the balance we have. From the owner's standpoint, he needs resident support to have a success. We're the sales organization for the CCRCs. Yes, there's a marketing department. What we say about where we live is the most important. Okay, you asked me up here on another question. In the case of the Stanford Health System, the owners of the Stanford Hospital, they had the concept in 1994-93 of providing medical service to all the citizens of Stanford on the basis of all the way from birth to hospice, the end of life. They didn't buy a cemetery, they stopped there. But from the rest of it, they had it. They found not all of those facilities were profitable. They had a deficit problem. The board of directors had to make a change in the manager, brought in a whole new team. I should say, the CCRC concept came out of that concept of going from birth all the way to a nice retirement life. That's where the CCRC came in. That board, that operator was removed. And the new board looked at all of the facilities that they had acquired, nurses' quarters, doctors' offices, hospice, so forth, visiting nurse, that was all cut. And at that point, in around 2002, they said, we're going to sell Edge Hill. I have been on the finance committee since I came to Edge Hill in 2000. I've gone through at least 8 proposals to buy Edge Hill. We have met with various providers on a national basis that looked at us. They wanted us to form, the residents, to form a corporation and buy the Edge Hill. We looked at that twice, went into the financing of it. We said no. The upshot was that we almost came to a purchase with the Jewish Home Fairfield, which would have retained our 501c3 status. That fell through in 2010, 11, when money was tight. And finally, a gentleman, Tom Grape, that is the owner of Benchmark out of Wellesley, Massachusetts, who had tried to buy Edge Hill back in 2002, finally made an offer that the operating head of the hospital called me and said, Bob, come on over here today and you're going to be sold. We're going to go with Benchmark. And that started roughly 2 years of negotiation. Fortunately, the owner, Stanford Hospital, we worked with a committee. I put a committee together, and we did have adequate representation, which was strictly on their basis. They just invited us in to do that. Some of the Evergreen Woods was much different, and East Hill Woods, 3030 Park, those were very different. But we've had 6 changes of ownership in Connecticut. I think what Ruth is particularly interested in my saying on this, and I repeat, as residents, change of ownership, as far as we took it through 4 lawyers, and 2 in the state of, 3 in the state of Connecticut, state law applies, and 1 at the gentleman from Leading Age, Boss, the attorney. We don't have any rights. What was very difficult about this, and is still an open question, Edge Hill has been superbly successful since incorporation. It was the right solution to the Greenwich, Stamford, Darien, Fairfield County in the year 2000. We filled up in less than 6 months. Filled up, went to a waiting list in 6 months. We've never had a deficit year. So by the year 2012, we had collected $27 million in cash, short and long-term investments on the balance sheet. Under the rules in Connecticut, and I'm pretty sure nationally, if a 501c3 sells another 501c3, which was a relationship we had. We have a large 501c3, Stanford Hospital, smaller one, Edge Hill. For magnitude, we bill out about 20, our gross revenue is 24 million. So roughly at 24 million a year, we had collected surplus of 27 million. In a sale, the larger 501c3 that started us kept all of that money. That was their money. And the best we could do with negotiation is they said, we'll give you residents $500,000, $100,000 per year for 5 years. If you say one negative word, if you want to write one letter to the department, to the letters to the editor, local papers, local radio, local television, you don't get the 500,000. We get the last one in the year the last payment, 2015. We have some plans at that point. But this is not the only. This happened at East Hill Woods up in Southbury, Connecticut, when they were purchased by, we're benchmark, they're watermark. Gotta be careful. They had 9 million on the books. The residents didn't get to keep it. The new buyer didn't get to keep the 9 million. That had to go to another 501c3, and they chose a local charity in the Southbury area. That is the way the law is set up now. So if you want to think of a business plan, establish a 501c3. In fact, establish 2 of them. And make that first one very profitable, whatever way, through good operation, raising fees, whatever. Now, in a 501c3, I think you all know, you can't take money out. You can do arm's length transaction, but the money that is generated, hopefully revenue over expenses, has to stay for the benefit of the 501c3. That's why you have a tax exempt status. So how, if you have a profitable 501c3, how do you get the money? Sell it. And if you're a 501c3, you get to keep that money. If you sell it privately, then any excess on that has to go to another 501c3. It's a difficult time for residents. I think our committee would be very happy on the performance that we had, that we did go through the transition. Benchmark has been a good new owner, but we went from a 501c3 to private ownership. We haven't lost anything in occupancy or reputation, as far as I know. It's traumatic, but it can be handled. Questions?
So Benchmark has bought up in Massachusetts a program that is in a similar difficult financial situation, expanding it to put on a nursing home as well. So my question is, you are now 4 years with Benchmark?
We are wholly owned by Benchmark. We're an
4
LL.
years, is it?
How many years?
4 years?
Yep, 4 years.
Yes, going on 4 years.
So my question is, have you seen a difference in terms of your, both what you're being provided as well as what you're being charged? And what happens when you come to your annual increase in fees?
Okay. Benchmark has been a good owner. One of the conditions that we, as residents, put on sale, we listed $5 million worth of improvements at the point of purchase. They agreed to that. They have kept that. They have been a good owner. We have been satisfied. We are a bit upset with the monthly increase. The last one, which effective January 1st, 2014, was 4.8%. And we had to fight to work that down from, they wanted over 5. And I challenged them on the basis that the pro forma for the next 5 years, which must be in the disclosure statement, shows an increase approximately 6% each year. They want, now this is only Benchmark, they want a 10% return on sales per year. They are interested only in cash flow, plus keeping a good reputation.
The $27 million that you lost, was that in the foundation? Was that for supporting fund or capital fund? What was that money?
That was in 3 accounts: cash, short, and long-term investments. It was on the balance sheet, nothing else. They sold it for $71.5 million, plus they kept 27. So what the roughly 12 years of operation, they turned with the 0 equity into $100 million.
So that money had been built up by donations from residents? No, just
Operations.
Operations.
Right?
Okay, so it was part of operations.
It was our monthly fees.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't have, do you have a supporting fund or a foundation or any?
No. No, we're separate. Oh, I'm sorry for it.
Oh, you could do the relevant to, no, all right.
Okay. The transfer of ownership is traumatic. It can be done. I think somehow, NACRA on a national level, certainly Contra on the state level, we're trying to work out some protection for residents in change of ownership. So, no more questions. I thank you for your time, Ruth.
Yeah, a long 4 years, and I just thought you should share some of that with you. Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity.